Okay, calling to order this meeting of the Board of Directors of Montara Water and Sanitary District. Today is December 4th, 2014, and the time is 7:32. Could we have a roll call, please?
Director Slater-Carter.
Present.
Director Harvey.
Here.
Director Boyd.
Here.
Director Wilson.
Here.
Director Huber.
Here.
All right. President's statement. We've had rain, and it's fantastic, and we're ahead of last year so far. Just over 7 inches on the rain gauge.
We're getting close to 8.
7.83 last time I looked, but
Not that we're obsessive about this or anything.
yeah. In case you don't know, our website, MWSD.montara.org, has a link to a weather gauge that not only shows you how much rain we've had over the past few hours, but for the past few days, and year over year, you can see this year compared against the past 2 years. And we're doing, so far, we'll see how long it holds, but so far we're tracking on 2013, not on 2014. So the 2015 water year is looking, we're off to a good start. But our community is one of the most conserving communities in the state of California, and keep that up because it's always a good thing. With that, do we have any oral comments for items not on the agenda?
Yeah, I'll add that our link on our website, our new website, also can take you to the historic records for Half Moon Bay Airport, which take you back 50 years. And also to the records for our rain gauge on Montara Mountain for the 2003, is it? It's been there quite a while.
It goes back a little further, I believe, actually.
Yeah. So it's an interesting, they're very interesting to look at the ups and downs in rainfall and see that the average is truly just an average, and there's a lot that are much higher and a lot that are much lower, and so we're sort of on track.
There is also another link that gets you actually to different rain gauges that are provided by Balance throughout the Bay Area. And I find it actually fascinating to look at different areas and compare with our area, and that shows pretty clearly how Montara Mountain is actually receives a little more rain than other areas.
It's, I was driving home a couple of nights ago and came up through Miramar, and it started coming down so hard that I could not see. And I was having to think about, do I pull off the road, and is someone going to come up behind me and not see me, because it was just such a downpour. Rounded the bend, and the road was dry. I mean, in less than a mile, it was blinding and absolutely not there. So we get these, when the clouds come over, sometimes one place gets it and the other place doesn't. And we see this sometimes in the rainfall data at the Sewer Authority. And we'll see that Montara got a lot and the rest of the coast didn't, or vice versa. It's interesting. You can't assume that one is like the other.
And while we're all happy about the rain, just one quick comment. The sewer side, of course, we are always have a different thinking. There's a potential for sanitary sewer overflows. No SSOs so far due to the heavy rains in the district.
Yay, that's
Hold
great
up right
news.
there as well.
Any close calls?
No. Nothing.
Well, that's great, because some of the downpours have been intense. We had about half an inch in 1 hour, not last night, but the night before. Very intense downpour, so that's great news.
There was some work done today at the Walker tank, so there was some filling of the station, but that was due to actual work, not due to the rainfall.
All right, any other public comments? Yes, sir, please.
I just want to
If
ask you
you could
guys.
introduce yourself for our
Oh,
audience.
of course. I thought they all recognized me from this side. Bill Keogh, Moss Beach. I get these about every 2 months, and I've called a few times, but I do recall when, these are an independent recycling company. They go around, they tape them on everybody's mailbox in Moss Beach. I don't know what they do in other communities, but I do recall when we were discussing rates for the trash pickups, that this was one of the things that they actually used to sort of subsidize keeping the costs down for trash pickups. So one is I want to drop these off to Clemens, so you can forward them to Chris Hunter and whatever. Porter, I'm sorry, different Chris's, too many Chris's. You know who I mean.
Chris Hunter's an influential person too. We'll send him.
No, but you know, he deals with a different kind of trash. And let's hope he doesn't watch this. Anyway, so I just want to bring that up and sort of remind folks that this is only going to increase our rates if we give to them, because they don't do anything that I believe that Recology will do for us anyway. So
Thanks for bringing that, Bill. And let me remind the community that we do have periodic events like this that are hosted by Recology, typically up at the Fairlawn View School parking lot. And I managed to take a full load of things for recycling at the last one, and that was great. We already have the service, and it helps us to keep it consolidated in that one place. Okay, do we have any others? No, so let's move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull for discussion? Anyone would like to make a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Kathleen and Jim, moving and seconding. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Old business item 1, review and possible action concerning adoption of Sewer Authority Mid-Coastside guidelines for recycled water.
So the committee, the SAM committee actually produced now recycling principles for recycled water project between SAM, CCWE, and MWSD. And now this portion, the principles here, they lay out the basic terms and conditions to which SAM, Coastside County Water District, and Montara Water and Sanitary District will agree to finance, design, construct, and operate Phase 1. So this is really a snapshot of what is called Phase 1. Phase 1 is a project that's intended to provide recycled water to the Ocean Colony Partners, the OCP Gulf Course only, and therefore essentially will benefit the area that is served through the Coastside County Water District. We had a chance to get the language actually, or present the language already at the last meeting. We just got it in at the last meeting. So this is the second time that we present the principles. This time, last time we didn't ask for any action on them. This time we're asking to adopt a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of the guiding principles for the recycled water project. And I think we're blessed to have at least 3 board members who were involved in well, 2 were involved in the preparation, but Jim is chair of the SAM board right now as well, and very familiar with the language as well. So the SAM board approved this for distribution to the members agencies. It's now up to us to review and, if we like it, approve it.
So let me kick this off by noting that each of the 3 member agencies, us, Granada Sanitary, or pardon me, Granada Community Services District, and the City of Half Moon Bay, each of us is looking at these and weighing in on whether or not we agree with this. What happens next, if we all agree, is we go back to SAM, and the SAM board then will hear this and finalize the language, and then move into subsequent discussions with other interested parties like CCWD. I don't know if a resolution is necessary at this point. I don't think it's going to hurt. I like the idea myself, but let's understand that the actual language and such is going to be nailed down at the Sewer Authority. If in the discussions at the authority there's anything substantive that we decide to change, I would be recommending that we bring it back to the 3 agencies to make sure that the final approvers are actually still all on board for this. I think that's the way that we treat almost any project, and this is a pretty significant one.
I would add that this is a conceptual document,
Right.
and I think the idea is that we're going to bring in engineers and the like to actually put the project into motion. And to Scott's point, I'm almost sure it's gonna come back with tighter language in the future, so this should be looked at as a conceptual document.
I'd like to, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, no, go ahead, Scott, why don't you finish?
No, let's start with you. I've got a kind of a side comment that I'd like to make
Okay.
sure we get to.
Yeah, so I was, I took Scott's place in one of the committee meetings with Dwight, and I was involved with the language, and, you know, this is, so we spent a lot of time on this. These are guidelines, so, as Scott and Dwight said, that these are not the final comments, these are guidelines. But I would ask that the board look at this, and if they like these general principles, approve this and send it back to the SAM board. So this is being sent to city council and to El Granada. And then the SAM board can then, if all three agencies approve it, which I ask you to do, then it can be discussed at the SAM board. And then we can, you know, changes can be made, and it could be brought back again if there's a problem, but I think it'd be good, I think it'd be good to kind of get this moving and, just make some progress. There's nothing final, but just kind of move along on the process. Remember, this is phase one, so this only involves, CCWD and the golf course, and, you know, so I think that recycling water is good for the whole coast side. I think it's a good thing for the coast side, and phase one is a good start. Phase two, you know, we'll talk about later. Phase two we haven't discussed yet, but you know that may involve Montara in some way. You know, we're not sure how that's going to involve Montara. Maybe a compensation or, you know, some way, or recycling at some point. But, you know, so phase two is gonna be open, but this is phase one. And I think that I would ask the board to look at this, ask questions, and hopefully approve it, and send it back to Sam for further discussion. And hopefully the other two agencies will do the same thing. So I am for this, as it's written. You know, we can approve it with some changes, maybe, that's fine, and send it back. But at least keep the process moving. That's my recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, so the comment I want to make is somewhat tangential to this, but I saw a concern raised recently about what we're calling phase one. And phase one is very specifically putting a modular recycled water facility at the SAM plant down in Half Moon Bay, and producing enough recycled water, working with CCWD to get the water from the plant across Pillsbury Creek to the connected up to the pumps that Ocean Colony Partners owns, and then they would take it from there and move it on down to the golf course, and they would use it as they need it. They would buy it kind of on demand. They would have an agreement that would cover the costs on an annual basis for what SAM does. The concern that I saw raised, that I was concerned about myself, I think someone was saying, look, you know, this is being done to benefit a single party, and it's just more politics as usual, and sketchy, and all this, and that person could not possibly have watched any of our meetings where we've talked about what we're trying to accomplish. So let me try, like, in 30 seconds to cover what I think we're trying to accomplish. We have millions of gallons of water that the coast side uses every year, and right now it's all treated, it's all pumped down to Half Moon Bay, it's treated, and then it's all put into the ocean. And we all know water's getting tight, and there are we know there have to be ways that we can capture that water before we put it out in the ocean and put it to some better use than just putting it into the ocean. We do a pretty good job of what we do now, but that's not the only way it can go. So we're looking for beneficial use for this. To make that work, it costs money. It costs money every single day because you've got to buy equipment. That equipment is going to be, there's going to be financing. You got to cover that. You got to pay for the people who operate it. You got to pay for the electricity that runs it. You got to pay for the repairs on the pumps and replacement of the filters as they wear out and get used and do their job. It costs money. So you can't just say, hey, let's go do recycled water and water all the lawns and the ball fields and all that, because those things are not necessarily going to come up with the money that it takes to bring in the new technology and pay for operating it. The golf courses, they're an ongoing business concern. They need water. They see what's happening with the price of the water they buy from CCWD. CCWD looks at, here's a bunch of drinkable water that's going to water golf courses. They're looking for a better way. And when we put our heads together, we go, you know what? If you can finance it, we can get it done. And then once we have that done, and this is why we're constantly talking about phase 2, once we've got it done, then we're talking about add-on uses, where we know how to do it, we've got an existing facility, and then let's see how much more we can bring into this. Can we find, is there some way to use it for other kinds of things? It's hard to get it, once you've got it processed and ready, you still have to get it somewhere. That's one of the things that makes it financially feasible to do this for the golf courses. We only have to go a few hundred feet to get to a facility where there are pumps and pipeline to get it to where it's going to go. So this is getting a start with someone who can afford to pay for it. As long as we're very careful about what it is that we build and keep the cost of what we build low enough to finance and cheap enough to operate, we should be able to do something that the golf courses can benefit from. And let me point out, yeah, it's one existing business, but the golf courses work closely in tandem with the hotel, and between those two, they provide a lot of tax revenue for the city of Half Moon Bay. And the city of Half Moon Bay is our working partner at the sewer authority, and when they are on financially solid ground, they make it's easier for them to work with us on the things that we have to do at the sewer authority. So, long way around in way more than 30 seconds, but this is something that I believe has a benefit because we find something better to do with the water. It has a benefit because it helps a major source of jobs and tax revenue in our community, and it helps our working partner, the city of Half Moon Bay, be on solid ground. So when we say, hey, we've got to do things like do more upkeep on the sewer system, they don't have to sit here and go, yeah, but we're laying off staff, which is what we heard over the past few years. We're laying off staff. We can't possibly raise the money it takes to repair that pump. And we've actually had to make those decisions. I'd like to get to where we're not, and I certainly don't want it to get any worse. So here, helping them out helps us out. So that's my piece.
That's a good point. Thank you.
So it seems like, Scott, you only missed one thing, is it increases the water supply in general. Because
Okay.
as you said, the drinking water is now available for other uses besides going to the golf course.
That's one way to look at it, but when you look at what CCWD does, it's analogous to what we do. They've got multiple sources for water. We have multiple sources for water. We have wells, we have a creek,
Right.
we have lowland wells, we have upland wells. Each one produces different kind of water. It costs a different amount to do each one. So Clemens is constantly, he talks here in the meetings sometimes, but he's constantly talking about how to juggle these resources to make sure that we're cost effective and we're able to do our maintenance and whatnot. CCWD gets the vast majority of their water from the Hetch Hetchy system, which is really the city of San Francisco. And they're a member of BAWSCA, BAWSCA. It's the organization that has all the different water agencies, all that buy water from San Francisco. So San Francisco gets to set certain terms like our wholesale raw water cost is going up on this schedule. So So CCWD is sitting here looking at what's happening with the price of that water, and while they have an allocation right now, they've also been told your allocation is not guaranteed to stay at that size. It's probably gonna be cut back, especially if we have a continued drought. So they've been doing things, as you know, with the Denniston treatment plant, and their hope to get water out of San Vicente Creek. They're looking to local sources. So they're resource constrained already, and don't forget, they've got hundreds, 1,500, 1,400 water permits that they've sold but not hooked up yet.
It's down, but I don't remember what it
Hundreds.
is. Hundreds.
They've got a lot of commitment out there that they haven't yet been called on to fulfill. So they've got a lot of constraints and obligations on them. So anything they can do to give themselves some more operational flexibility is understandable. We would try to do it too. What it means to have more water in and of itself, it sounds like maybe that would be the fuel for development. And we've we're in Montara and Moss Beach. We know what it means. We talk about fuel for development. But we know that with the new LCP for the county and the city going through their work on it, what actually controls the growth is an active community that gets involved and says, hey, let's make sure that we're not pouring fuel on a fire here.
Right.
Yeah.
But it gives them more flexibility that they have a local source of water, so they don't have to tap in so much of the Hetch-Hetchy system,
Right.
so it controls their costs.
So by diminishing the demand for the golf courses, and also the golf courses have a very high daily demand,
Yeah.
and there can be some peak demand. It's going to help them to shave that off and to give them the alternative. It's not it's not a final solution for anything, but it gives them some real room to operate.
Yeah.
That's the next one. So, anyone have any questions or concerns about the wording itself?
Yes.
Okay, Catherine.
Your comment about how Half Moon Bay said they didn't have the resources to do a needed pump repair, and so Sam had to juggle some priorities. The original amendments to the SAM agreement and the billing of the sewer fees to the city, from the city to its residents, should make sure they have enough money to cover what is needed. And so I am concerned, again, because they did not participate in the wet weather overflow project in El Granada and complained about the price of the cookies. And yes, I know that's a rather callous statement, but
Even though they ate them.
even though they ate them and enjoyed the photo ops,
Right.
nonetheless, there's in the first full paragraph after phase 1A and B, the last line says the parties further intend that SAM shall be reimbursed. Now, the intent of the SAM agreement to begin with was all parties would be fiscally responsible and participate fully in SAM projects. And somehow that got twisted around. So I'm not asking for a change to this, but I am asking for our SAM representatives and committee representatives to make sure that intent is not used, but that it should say the parties will make sure that SAM shall be reimbursed for its expenditures for phase 1, or ensure, because the intent from years ago wasn't good enough for several recent projects that were going on,
Well,
and
this
I
is-
am concerned about this.
Understood. This is conceptual. and
That's why I'm not
Yeah.
asking for a change.
There is no contract involved here, but in order for this thing to work, there will have to be contracts.
That's right.
Most specifically between SAM and CCWD. And somewhere in there's gonna be a contract with Ocean Colony Partners as well. And who the parties are there remains to be hammered out. I think it's likely it's going to be Ocean Colony Partners and CCWD in a two-party contract. It could be a three-party contract, but regardless, here, what we're doing is we're saying, this is the direction we're heading. Nothing in this thing's binding.
Exactly.
The binding comes later, and I'm deeply familiar with the difference between should and shall. Okay,
Yes.
so let me offer you that assurance.
Well, also, these are principles, guiding principles, so. yeah.
Just so you know, the title of this document went through more revision than the whole rest of it, and on purpose, because look, there's a lot of people involved. The interests are different depending on which table, which side of the table you're sitting on, and it's a multi-sided table. So we want to keep everybody at the table.
No, I understand that, and that's why I'm
But,
not asking for any changes, but
the-
I am raising a concern.
That's a good.
I would note that we have discussed the possibility that Sam wants to put some money into this thing for Sam's specific purposes, for perhaps flexibility for future expansion of the system. So for example, if we buy a box that does the treatment, maybe we put a little extra money into it with the expansion valves and connections for sticking a second box next to it. I'm not saying that that's the smart or necessary thing, but imagine that we wanted to do something like that. That wouldn't have any benefit to the customer that we're contemplating. So we might be willing to front some money just because it's a smarter way to spend it if we know the rest is coming. That I would not imagine that would ever intend for us to be reimbursed for, because that's actually an expenditure that Sam would make for itself. So I did just want to carve out that little niche and say, not every dollar. But if it's necessary to keep things moving, and we have contracts, and it's smarter if Sam spends the money and then say CCWD reimburses us, this is what that's talking about.
Right. My other comment is to something that we reviewed earlier, and is their anticipated extraction from San Vicente Creek. No, not San, yeah. And perhaps this is something that could help. And also from Denniston Creek, as a matter of fact, because that affects our water supply. And so if this is can be used to offset extractions from those two creeks, it can benefit our district, our water supply, and the beaches here, particularly the marine reserve. So I think that's something also to keep in mind.
Well, certainly, any fresh water that doesn't have to go onto a golf course is, I think, a benefit, because it's kind of silly to treat the water and make it fresh, and then, clean it, chlorinate it, and then distribute it, only to pour it right back on the ground. If you can use something closer to a raw water, that's probably a better use.
Mhm.
I mean, I have to say, all verbiage aside, no offense, I think this is a great start, and remember, this is a conceptual agreement, and we haven't even decided who's gonna be doing the loan documents, let alone the engineering project. So the fact that we're able to come together with 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know how many entities, and come on a project. As you all know, you guys went through this process before, and got to the last minute, and we hit a collapse. So this is a great, I think, first step, so I certainly would recommend this group approve the motion as is.
Any further comments or questions? All right, it's a resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Terrific.
I'll second.
Bill moving, Catherine seconding. Let's have a roll call vote.
Director Slater Carter,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Wilson,
Aye.
Director Huber.
Aye.
The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everyone. This is
Thank you.
It's a great piece of progress, and I appreciate everyone's interest in supporting this. New business item 1, consideration of changing the date of district elections.
So this is an idea that has come up several times in the past and was discussed. So the idea here is to change the date of the district elections from the odd-numbered years to the statewide general elections that are held in the even-numbered years. And the primary reason for changing the date is to provide greater voter participation. Secondary reason then is that it is actually cheaper to hold the elections and in the general elections. The primary reason, again, voter participation, we took a look at the statistics that's provided by the county elections office over a number of years. And we took the city of Half Moon Bay as a comparison because they changed its election date from November of the odd-numbered years to November of the even-number years. That was done through a voter initiative in 2010. And the city's election turnout in '09, for example, was 27.8%. And I always have to remind myself, that is of registered voters, not of people
Residents.
of residents, exactly. So that was 27.8% in '09. It was then changed, so delayed for 1 year, and then the vote in 2012, after the change to the even-numbered years, was 82.9%. We didn't have the figures at least at the preparation of the staff report. The county hadn't released the information yet. I saw it come through actually today, so I didn't get a chance to look at it, but it's expected to be over 70% for the 2014, the even year number. Our voter participation in the November 2013 election for the MWSD was 25.9%. So I think in general we can look at other county-wide statistic, but it's pretty clear it's roughly, in the odd-numbered years, we're gonna see voter participation around 30%, a bit below 30% voter turnout. And in the statewide general election, it's for certain above 70%, so it's a significant difference. Then again, the monetary aspect of this, we asked the county to provide an estimate for the 2015 elections cost, and they said it would cost around $8,500. The district would have to pay $8,500 to pay for those elections. If we would move those elections to 2016 elections, the county anticipates that we will be charged only $6,000. So District Council has now prepared a resolution that can initiate the election change. If that is adopted, it would be sent to the County Board of Supervisors for approval. Under the Elections Code, the county elections official is required to prepare an impact analysis that needs to include a cost analysis of the consolidation of the district elections with elections held on the statewide general election. The board must approve the district resolution unless it finds that the ballot style, voting equipment, or computer capacity is such that additional elections or materials cannot be handled. Now, it was not only the city of Half Moon Bay, it was actually a plenitude of agencies throughout this county that already took this step. Within 30 days after the approval of the resolution, the elections official must notify all registered voters of the district of the approval of the resolution by the Board of Supervisors, and the notice shall be delivered by mail and at the cost of the district. So we think that's gonna cost us around, let's say, roughly between $1,000 and $2,000 maximum. So as a result of the date change, district board members whose term will expire in December 2015 would continue in office until December 2016, and board members whose terms will expire in December of 2017 would continue in office until December 2018. This is only an informationary item at this point. We suggest to discuss and then schedule the consideration of the resolution changing the election date for the meeting of January 15, 2014. Excuse me?
Unless you have a time machine.
Can the board take action at this meeting, or is it appropriate to wait until January?
The board can take action tonight. We presented it so that this board has a chance to essentially review, and we have time to wait until January 15. Let me say it this way, we have to approve it the latest by January 15 if the step should be taken.
But we could approve it tonight.
You could approve it tonight, yes.
Well, we have a comment from a member of the public, Bill Kehoe.
Yeah, well, Bill Keogh, West Beach. Well, in general, I support the idea of going to even year elections. I think you have to do it with some caveats. The numbers that Clemens quoted from Half Moon Bay from 2009, I think he said, to 2012. Of course, 2012 was a presidential election. Numbers shoot way up. So, there's no time series analysis done yet for that. And I noticed Tuesday night at the Half Moon Bay City Council meeting, they also made a reference to that for their larger turnout this time, but this was also governor in a higher echelon of the state, which again draws more people than local elections do. Although I don't know why, because local elections are deep in our pockets as much as the state and the feds. So I think the caveat I really want to make clear is that even year elections will push the local districts further down ballot, and you have to start worrying about voter fatigue and the fact that they may not complete the whole ballot. They might do the top echelon and skip the rest of them, especially if we have tons of judges and other kind of things like we did this last time. So I would say that if you do this, you should do it with caution and sort of take a look at the next few elections and see just what kind of a drop-off you get because you're down ballot in the even years, and does it really improve things or not? And does that outweigh the cost? Because I think as more people do go to even year elections, then the cost of doing an odd year election will skyrocket as well. So you're kind of on a razor blade here of really, maybe gaining something versus losing something, but you won't know till you go through a few election cycles. So just don't go for the money is what I'm saying.
So,
It's one of those, I'm sorry, I studied math for a long time, and I hate to see people making correlations where they've only got one data point. So get a few.
Let me throw in real quick that I was just looking at the City of Half Moon Bay City Council, and if you look at the top vote getter in '09, there were 1,449 votes. If you look then, when they moved to even year in 2012, the top vote getter had 3,142, granted a presidential election. I don't know about you, but I don't think the governor's race brought another person to the polls this time around.
There's all those judges.
A lot of people
But
didn't
this
know it.
time, this is the off year elections. This is not presidential on the 4-year cycle. And this time, the top vote getter in Half Moon Bay got 2,200 votes, and that's
Minimal.
hundreds more votes than in '09. Now,
And it was a more crowded
things
field.
change, and sometimes there are measures on the ballot that bring more people, and sometimes there's some big flare
It could
up.
have been a city issue.
Right.
There's a lot of different factors.
I take your point. I did a lot of math too, but looking to the raw numbers, I think we can see increased participation, and I'm inclined. Initially, I didn't want to mess with it, but thinking about it, I'm definitely inclined this way because of the increased participation, and it's something that I think everyone at this table has gone door to door through our community more than once, and it's. I don't know. I get excited when people come and sit in the audience. sometimes more excited than others. Just,
I
but-
don't want you pulling the Chris Matthews here, I don't wanna hear about
but-
any tingling in your leg or anything.
No, but,
I'll tell you about that reference later.
increased participation, we've got a really special community, and anything that gets more people to think about it. Maybe we could talk to the registrar about which way the ballot's ordered, the more local, the more near the top. I don't know why it's the other way. It's not like they're gonna forget to vote for president.
Looking at this, and actually the county provides really good statistics there, and looking at the numbers, the participation, what you described as voter fatigue, meaning, you know, that the people essentially stop voting at one point after they're done with, you know, the major X's. I haven't seen that at all, and I encourage everyone to take a look at that, at these statistics, because it's not provided here, but it's available on the website. It was really pretty clear that whoever voted for everything.
I'd like to make a motion to pass the resolution, next in order, resolving, resolution requiring that elections of the governing body of the Montara Water Sanitary District be held on the same day as the statewide general election.
Purposes of discussion, I'll second that.
Wait, I have stuff.
Well, sure.
Well, that's why I second it, so we can discuss it.
So, we have a motion and a second, and now discussion. Bill?
Okay, upon first reading this resolution, it appeared to me to make a whole lot of sense, to higher voter participation and lower election costs. Upon further consideration, there's something very troubling about this resolution. The five of us are here today because we received the permission of the electorate to represent their interest. This was acknowledged by all to be a 4-year term. At the end of our respective terms, we must get permission once again to represent the interests of the community we serve. By voting for this resolution, we appoint ourselves to a 1-year term without the permission of the electorate. This, in my mind, is a violation of our system of representative government. We have 1 year in which we cannot legitimately claim that we represent the will of the people. Further, this represents a conflict of interest because we are directly affected by the outcome of this resolution, i.e. we get 1 more year in office without having to be elected or go through the electoral process. We, in my mind, lost the opportunity when we failed to bring this up for a vote last December or January. By shortening our term, we moved the election up to 2014 instead of 2016. If we had done that, we would have the legitimacy of being elected instead of being appointed by ourselves. So that, to me, it seems like that there's 2 alternatives. One is to put the issue up to the voters of the district. The other one is simply to put this on the agenda for December of 2015.
That would still lengthen everybody's term by a year. It wouldn't change the mathematics.
I think I would have been. Sorry. I think I would have been more reluctant to consider this, except we have a local government body that did this a while back, and it was very well received by the people of Half Moon Bay. And I think they said, let me say my piece here. I respect what you're saying, and I don't disagree with the points you make, but I do disagree with the conclusion. And part of it's predicated on this notion that somehow it's a fabulous thing to hold this position, and we're all looking to do this forever. Let me tell you, that's
We get so much money.
yeah, $75 a meeting, right?
Yeah, a whole
That's-
75.
It's been that way all 16 years I've been on the board.
That's right. Half Moon
I-
Bay just changed there
I think if
without asking the voters.
if I was concerned that there was going to be deep voter concern about this, I might be alongside with you on this. But I hear and have heard, like for example, at the community meeting that we had recently, where we had almost 100 people there, heard over and over, and I was just standing off to the side. I mean, I was just a fly on the wall for that one, and I heard over and over people thanking the agency for what it was doing. So I hear you. I'm not persuaded by the argument. I don't disagree with the points, but I don't think it's necessary to reach the same conclusion. So that's how I feel about it.
Okay, the one is that there's a fundamental difference between what we're doing and what happened in Half Moon Bay. If I read what Clemens had to say properly, it says, for example, the city of Half Moon Bay changes election date from November of odd numbered years to November of even years as a result of a voter initiative. So basically, the voters were the ones that drove this decision.
Well, that was because, and just for some background, I helped gather signatures for that. I was always with a member of, a resident of Half Moon Bay, so that it was always by the book. But it was because people had taken it to the city council earlier, and it had been denied by the city council. And so the population was left with zero recourse. It was expensive for the city, and the city council was not happy about having to pay for that election. I think elections are a very small part of our budget, but in fact, it was because the city council would not do its duty and respond to that. I have been asked by people why we don't change our election date to save money for the district, to make it easier for the voters, because they're expecting to be voting, they go to the polls, they look at things, they really do their homework in this community. And so I think we're doing it as a way to make it easier and better for each and every voter in town here. And I think the difference between this board and the Half Moon Bay City Council is that we do actively respect and consider the requests by our community and by our voters. So I think the major difference is because it wasn't forced into gathering signatures. I suppose if people were upset about it, they could gather signatures and ask to have the election moved back to the odd years.
Okay, to the other point that there seems to be widespread support for this, that throughout history, there's examples of instances where there was widespread support in which that the courts ruled that even though there was widespread support, it was not constitutional.
We're not talking about slavery here or miscegenation.
No, but we are talking
We're
about-
talking
Or
about,
gay marriage.
But we are talking about representative government in which the electorate decides, not us.
honestly,
And we're
Bill,
deciding a one-year term without the electorate being able to vote on this.
Well, I have a suggestion, Bill, why don't you resign 1 year
okay, all right,
early?
hang on. Let's
And-
keep it civil.
I'm being very civil.
Well, actually, I'm gonna, hang on.
I'm simply making a
hang on,
suggestion that
hang
Bill
on.
can act on his
Catherine.
own
Catherine,
concern.
look, let's keep this civil. Bill, your comment can be taken really wrong, and I know you don't mean for that kind of thing, but, you know, some of the things that come to mind when you mention that, the tyranny of the majority over the rights of the minority, I'm sorry, I'm a little too sensitive to that, to sit here idly and let you make that without being much more clear, because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something that, and I should mention, I had been approached by members of the community asking why we haven't done what Half Moon Bay showed in 2009, everybody on the coast side should do. And I have likewise talked to Granada about, why don't you do this too? Let's all get on the same page. And then every member of the coast side knows when the elections are. And it's not this staggered mishmash. Our communities are disjointed enough already. And here is something where we can, for once, follow Half Moon Bay's lead and get more people voting on the thing that actually, as Bill pointed out, really goes to the wallet and to the quality of service in our community. So if it were a benefit more to one or a handful of the board members, that'd be one thing, and we'd say, look, if it's disparate, there's a problem there. But this is something where no one person benefits. It is also an obligation to serve. Don't forget that, and it's, I don't know, I mean,
So let me,
Yeah,
I think, I mean, first of all, I respectfully disagree with the summary. I mean, I think the idea of voting to increase voter participation is something that we should be doing. These off-year elections, I would not be surprised that within 10 to 15 years, you'll see very few off-year elections, if any at all. Mainly because no one votes in off-year elections unless they absolutely have, I mean, unless you're a historic voter for just about everything. I think anything we can do to enhance voter participation in its own right is essentially increasing participation in this district. And I would suggest that is far more compelling than the advantage of being able to have one more year as like Bob, as I was, you and I chatted the other day, and to be honest with you, I did not sign up for 5 years, and certainly this was not something, oh my goodness, another extra year. So I think the real bottom line.
I'll correct you on that one. You said that, but with a different inflection.
Well, perhaps, but
well,
as
I'm glad you said that, because I was sitting here thinking, one more year, it's, they're,
But I think the fact, I think the compelling argument of higher voter participation, I'm kind of with I think the money should not drive this discussion. It really should be driven of the higher voter participation. And I think all the numbers coming in indicate that for whatever reason, there are more people voting on even year elections, and by definition, I'm not too worried about the long ballots. Our ballots are long anyway, and I don't think this in and of itself is going to drive whether I get to this part of the ballot or not. So I would strongly recommend that we support the motion tonight and move this process along. So.
Just to be clear, that I have, actually feel exactly the same way you do about voter participation. And I do think that this would enhance the voter participation. I also feel that this then, because this has been simmering for a number of years, should have really been brought up in either December of 2013 or January 2014, because then by taking this action, we would have been under, let's say, the umbrella of being throughout the whole process elected. This way, what we're doing is appointing ourselves for 1 year. And the appointing is the part that I have the real problem with, because we don't get to appoint ourselves, the electorate gets to appoint us. And so I think that is a fundamental part of representative government, is that we do not appoint ourselves or extend our terms. That is the providence of the people that elect us.
So I'm glad you make a couple of good points. One on the timing of when the discussion started. Discussions actually started with individuals looking into this sometime back.
Yeah.
What happened this year to get us to this point is this past summer. I don't remember who exactly it was brought it to the board. I think it was me, who we discussed it, and council went and took a look at what it would take. It took a while to get to the set of steps that he has put forward for us here. Took some significant research to do that. It's all fine to say, should have done it sooner, but that's looking into the rearview mirror. And the fact of the matter is, this is how long it took to get us to where we are, but here we are.
Okay.
So
And I believe you were here, Bill,
all well
when
and-
that
all well and
discussion was
good.
happening.
all well and good, but nothing to be done for it now, and this is some good work, and we've got it in front of us. And on the other, let me just mention that if you're looking through this, council has determined that this is within the purview of the board under state law. And we've seen the city of Half Moon Bay do this, and we've seen many other agencies. I went and did a historical study of agencies that used to be odd and moved to even, and all up and down the state, there are dozens that have done this. This is nothing new. So, fine points, but again, I land on a different conclusion.
And I like to say that I think that you're kind of skewing that comment a little bit about appointing ourselves. We're not appointing ourselves for the extra year. The people in the community voted to have us represent them on this board and make decisions and represent them. And so this is a decision that we're making through the support and through the having been elected by the community. So
Yeah.
we're not appointing ourselves another year.
Yeah.
We are fulfilling our obligations, having been elected to the board. So you're kind of,
If we choose unwisely and we're not in line with the community's view on this, we will hear about it. And there is process here that won't be complete for many months. If we've chosen unwisely, we can do something about that. So I would suggest that we start this process and make sure the community is aware of what we're doing, and listen carefully to the feedback that we get, and adjust as we go if we feel like we get information we didn't have. Right now, the information I have says there are community members who have been haranguing me to get busy about doing this.
Well, I have no argument with that whatsoever.
And I think they would tell you that I was reluctant to get going on it, okay? So, but now that we're here, I think that the case is actually fairly compelling, so.
Well, I have a concern. Under the agenda item, it says consideration of changing the date, and in fact, the title of the item on the paperwork is consideration of changing. Under old business, we've got review and possible action, and the next item is review and possible action. My concern is that perhaps, and we don't have Dave to talk to us, but we should have had consideration and possible action as a more appropriate title if we were going to take action tonight.
I'm fine waiting.
So
I do think that the
I would
language, I do
suggest
think that
we
the
wait.
language actually allows for it. It's not in the usual place, and for that,
It-
I'm happy to go either way.
It needs to be in the agenda, so anybody reading the agenda in the post office would know specifically that we were going to be taking an action. And that's my concern.
I would recommend we go ahead and vote it in, and then we can ask David for his legal opinion.
Well, that's true, we can always vote it in and then re-vote it in January if that
Exactly.
wasn't
So,
appropriate.
that's what I would do.
But-
I agree. We've gone through this discussion. I don't want to waste the board's time and discuss this again.
No, because we'll have 6 weeks' worth of business to conduct in
Yeah.
mid-January.
Yeah.
So why don't we go ahead and vote on it, and then if David sees we're way out of whack, we'll have a January motion.
Okay.
Remind me of the question.
That actually requires a vote. Are you sure you want to do that?
No, I kind of.
All right,
some
well,
hint, but-
a spirited discussion and certainly an important part of the democratic process. So Bill, I appreciate the concerns you raised and the manner in which you raised them. And with that, let's have a roll call vote.
Director Slater Carter,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Wilson,
Aye.
Director Huber.
Aye.
Okay. Surprise vote, but motion carries 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Let's move to new business item 2, review and possible action concerning cancellation of next regular scheduled meetings, December 18th, 2014, and January 1st, 2015.
January 1st is a great one to skip.
January 1st is a great one to skip, I agree. So we don't anticipate having any important business for December 18, so we recommend thinking about canceling unless there's something urgent that comes up. We would let the board know, but as a heads up, we anticipate not needing a December 18. Would like to cancel January 1. That moves our next meeting to January 15, 2015.
So as a, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, so if something does come up, we could have the meeting on the 18th.
So my recommendation on this is that we say that we anticipate lack of quorum, and therefore the meetings will not be held. But that way, if we decide we need to meet, the meetings are still scheduled and we can meet.
I think that's
Whereas
good.
if we cancel the meetings, then we've got a different process, and then they have to be special meetings, and the simpler process is we anticipate lack of quorum.
That's true. It would be great
Which
hardship
is-
for me to be here on
which-
January 1st.
Which is true.
Well, that sounds ominous.
I'm gonna be out of state.
Okay. So, that sounds like an advisory, so, folks at home, the 18th and the 1st, folks in the audience, our intrepid historian, and, Bill, how do you characterize yourself here? Our regulars,
It's
the
hard after some of these discussions.
Montara Moss Beach irregulars. You heard it here, 18th and the 1st, don't plan on it unless you hear something to the contrary. General Manager's report.
Nothing to report this time.
Actually, I skipped ahead, didn't I? Sewer Authority Mid-Coast side.
Oh, yeah, we had, so did we have a meeting last time? I think we did. Our last meeting was, November 17th. We went over the recycling issue, the items to present this to the board, which we've just approved. The other boards are doing the same thing, considering this at this time. Rob gave his report, and we passed a resolution to adopt his plan for having Tony replaced by two assistant managers to take Tony's place. So Tony's shoes are being filled by two people, one collections and one in plant management, and that's been approved by the board.
Let me mention, it's from existing staff, so this is without new hires.
And it's only results in a very small increase in salary for those two people. And so, that, see, hold on a minute, that's basically it, I think. That's all we talked about.
There were a couple of things I'll note, it's kind of more the family doings there. We said farewell to Alan Alfano, who
That's right.
sat in his final meeting there at SAM, and we also had a presentation for Tony, who has served for 31 years and 8 months. And you look at Tony, and he looks 24. But
His hair is still dark.
apparently, he started when he was like 2, and he's actually 33 years old. No, but he was there. He's been at SAM for 31 years and 8 months, and we add the 8 months because, for crying out loud, I mean, Tony has been a fantastic member of the COSI community for years. Has been a gentle soul and knowledgeable and ingenious. He's been part of the continuity that has bound that agency together for all this time. In all my experience in working with him, and I guess I worked with him for about not quite half of his career, but I mean, I have enjoyed each and every interaction I've ever had with Tony Pullen. Tony Pullen, in my experience, is a fine man, and it's been an honor to be able to work with him. And we're going to miss him, but he's planning on sticking around the coast side, and you may see him out enjoying his motorcycle or
No, he got rid of his motorcycles, just bicycles now.
bicycles.
No more motorcycles.
He
Bicycles, and so-
decided at 31 years he was too old for those motorcycles.
So drive safely, like, you take care of all of our cyclists.
I was gonna say, I support the drive safely,
Yeah.
particularly at night.
But it was an honor to be able to hear everyone say some kind words about Tony, and just the rare individual where people have just nothing but good things to say. So, sad to see him go, but couldn't be better earned for being able to go off and enjoy some some free time. So, Mid-Coast Community Council.
Let me see, the most recent meeting I attended was, let me see, no, it was the same night as the council night, there was a, planning commission hearing on Big Wave that was held in El Granada. And there were a ton of people, but the decision was postponed, because the plans have not quite been finalized. That same day, there was a coastal commission tour that visited, Surfers Beach, Princeton Harbor, and, the Big Wave site. And to give the coastal commissioners some familiarity with the environment. So that's, is there anything else to add about the council? I haven't really been following them all that closely, I guess I should.
Yeah, I actually thought Dave would be here, so otherwise I would have brought the last agenda with me. And they blend in. Have we reported on Princeton plan? That's still going on. Connect the coast side, they had something on that. And if any of these things raise questions, just ask me and I'll go back and explain them. And there's a third thing I'm trying to think of, and I don't wanna pull a
There's
Rick
the
Perry here, but there's a
transit-
third
No,
one.
there's a transit plan.
That's the
that
connect the
which is
coast side.
No, it's separate from Connect the Coast.
Uh,
And then there's Big Wave, and then there's the Princeton
Yeah,
plan. There's four.
by
there's-
transit plan, you mean the thing that was promised in the LCP?
Yes.
The transportation study.
Transportation studies, so
Okay,
there's
yeah.
4 major projects going on right
The
now.
El Granada Beach, that, and Princeton plan, and, yeah, there's something else and I'm blanking. But, anyway, the main thing about Surfers Beach, they're looking at 2 types, and by Surfers Beach, I mean down at Coronado, where the erosion is getting dangerously close to Highway 1, and you know, what they can do to not have to move the highway. Because if it gets much closer, Caltrans gonna have to move it inland, and that becomes a big commute issue. So they're looking at doing riprap as opposed to straight shear steel and there's pluses and minuses. You can go back and read it on the MCC website. Lisa does a great job of keeping all that information up to date there.
And we have a link to it, right? Clemens, from our website, to the Mid-Coast
Yes.
Council?
we
Yeah,
added
so,
that.
and the Princeton plan just continues to kind of roll along, so I'm not quite sure what the timetable is for that, but again, that's up on the the MCC website.
Well, one of the things that people need to be aware of in the Princeton plan is the proposal to put 200 caretakers units in Princeton as opposed to, so it could
It's not a
have a major
proposal to
effect
put
on-
them in there, it's what's the allowable build-out numbers, which is kind of
Okay,
different.
I had
So
been
some
told that.
interesting
Yeah,
reading.
yes, well,
Okay.
yeah, if it's carried through to its full term, it could be something like that.
If you want to see what kind of changes people are contemplating for the coast side,
Yeah.
it sounds like the Mid-Coast Council website is a good place to start. And it sounds like a lot of things are happening all at once. So if you blink, you might miss it, and then you might be surprised.
Well,
So
and now is the time to send your to read these things or partially read them and send your questions and concerns to the county.
We-
Because once they're adopted, it's too late.
right, it's we've got a very involved community. Hey, community, if you've been waiting for that time to be involved, there's some good reading to do right now. All right, CSDA report.
Yes, we had our meeting. The October one was canceled because of the Giants in Game 6. We had Dave Pine come and speak. And he is very interested in forming a community choice aggregation district for the county, and there will be a hearing on that at 10:30 next Tuesday on the 9th.
What does that
Now,
mean?
you ask, what is a
Yeah.
CCA? And at the risk of looking like I didn't do my homework, but, so I don't missed points. I will read you what he said. What is a CCA? A community choice aggregation is a local energy model that sits at the intersection of consumer choice, local control, climate change, and economics. It's a broad concept. Established by law in 6 states and authorized in California, CCA allows a local government or group of them to pool the electricity demand of their residential, business, and municipal accounts in order to purchase or develop power on their behalf. CCA is focused on the power generation side of the energy equation, while power delivery, grid maintenance, customer metering and billing, and customer service functions remain within the existing utility.
Interesting.
Through CCA, California communities are achieving significant results, including competitive, not guaranteed, but often cheaper electricity rates, consumer choice where none currently exists, significant reductions in the greenhouse gas emissions, renewable power development locally and in-state, new jobs and energy programs for the community. And so Marin is doing it, Sonoma is doing it, Lancaster is doing it, so San Mateo County is doing it. And I made it a point, when Dave was talking, he had said, well, the cities and the county were going to work on this, and I was going, hello, you're at a special district association meeting, what about us? So, I will be attending the meeting on Tuesday, and I sent this to Clemens, and I think there's an opportunity for our district and possibly Sam to reduce our energy costs, but I'd like to see if, how it works for perhaps MWSD to be able to aggregate this, for our own district, so that maybe we can find a leverage a way for our own residents to get a better, a higher purchasing power by being involved with this. Because the county often is not as attentive to the details of their small unincorporated districts as the local elected boards are. So I will be reporting on this.
Really?
What a surprise. But it also involves gas and electricity, and so I will make a fuller report on this. I was sorry it wasn't earlier this week.
Well, that's great.
Okay.
That's great.
CCWD, NCCWD committee report.
Yeah, so real briefly, the status of this was essentially that this committee asked this board to approach North Coast County Water District to see if there's an interest to bring them into the group that we have with Coastside County Water District. Essentially, a committee, a joint committee between the 3 agencies with focus on emergency preparedness. We asked for some particular things of this board. For example, there was an intertie that between North Coast County Water District and Coastside County Water District that was brought here and discussed briefly. The Coastside County Water District Committee now has met and lets us know that they are not interested in bringing North Coast County Water District into the group at this time.
Who was that told you that?
That was their general manager,
Okay,
Dave Dixon,
okay.
who informed me about this. So at this time, we're looking into scheduling a meeting with Coastside County Water District to hear from them directly.
Okay. Attorney's report. Dave? No, nothing? Okay. Director's reports. Directors.
Nothing to report.
We've had the general manager's report. Future agendas, nothing. Hearing no objection, we're adjourned at 8:47.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you, everyone.
And Happy New Year and Merry Christmas,
47.
everyone.
Wow.